Hare Krishna, Namaste. Chapter 14 is entitled as Gunatraya Vibhaha Yoga. Sloka 3, Part 4. Mama yonir mahad brahma, tasmin garbhaṁ dadhāmy aham, sambhavaḥ sarva-bhūtānāṁ, tato bhavati bhārata. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. From the previous 2 sessions, hopefully we get some glimpse of how big the Prakriti is. Now let's understand the further lines of the sloka. Krishna says that he impregnates the Prakriti. What does that mean? The Prakriti is considered as a womb, and then the womb is impregnated with the living entities. The way that happens is, in Pralaya stage, there is no variedness like mahad, ahankara, etc. This stage is known as unmanifested state. And during this stage, the gunas, that is sattva guna, raja guna and tamo guna, are also equally balanced. Like a still water with no waves, but still there is some slight movements within it without causing any major changes to the water. Likewise, the gunas, they are not in agitated state. When the time comes, by the will, sankalpa of the Lord, the gunas loses its equality, balance, and the Prakriti becomes into manifested state. That is, from Prakriti, within that Prakriti, mahad tattva is created. From mahad tattva, within that mahad tattva, the ahankara is created. And this ahankara further divided into sattvika ahankara, rajasa ahankara and tamasa ahankara. Then comes the 21 elements, namely pancha jnanendriya, pancha karmendriya, manas, pancha tanmatra and pancha bhuta. With the pancha bhuta, the process of panchikarana happens by the Lord. With that, the universe get created. So we can see Prakriti from its unmanifested state now becomes manifested. Unmanifested state means where we cannot differentiate between any of these things, whereas manifested means now we can differentiate things. Then the Lord selects a Jivatma who is highly qualified and appoints him as Brahma. Before he sends Brahma into the universe, he, the Lord, attaches all the other Jivatmas, living entities, onto Brahma. And then the Lord places Brahma on the Satyaloka, the 14th top planet that we saw earlier, which is within the universe. Then from that point onwards, the secondary creation begins. And this secondary creation is led by Brahma. At this juncture, we should know that the Lord has done his part of creating the universe and appointing Brahma. And Brahma starts the creation. But it is the Supreme Lord who is the antaratma, the soul within Brahma and the Prakriti. Therefore, it is the Supreme Lord still continues to create even the secondary creation, but keeping Brahma as an instrument. So one should not think that after the Lord creates the universes and appoints Brahma, his job is done. That is not the right way of understanding. And another very important message that we get from this sloka is an answer to the sloka that we saw in the 13th chapter, 27th verse. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam stavara jangamam kshetra kshetrajna samyogat tad vidhi Bharata Rishabha. There we learned that by the combination of Purusha and Prakriti, that is, the living entities and material nature, the rest of the creation happens. Which means there is no need of a third party here. Just by the combination of the living entities and Prakriti, everything gets moving by itself. And this idea or philosophy is called Sankhya. And certainly that is not the philosophy or message that we learn from Bhagavad Gita. This sloka clearly answers and defeats that Sankhya philosophy. Tasmin garbhaṁ dadhāmy aham. The Lord impregnates the Prakriti. He does that through Brahma, the secondary creator, after the Prakrita Srishti, that is Samashti Srishti, which is nothing but creation and making the stage ready, creation of the universes, the planetary system, etc. That's Samashti Srishti or Prakrita Srishti. Then further creation happens through Brahma, which is in turn done by the Supreme Lord as Antaratma within that Brahma. One thing that we need to note here in the sloka is Krishna says he gives the garbhaṁ. So the question is, are the living entities garbhaṁ which is being sent into the Prakriti, or the Mula Prakriti is garbhaṁ? Let's see this one. Garbhaṁ happens only after a woman is conceived. Before that, it is not called as garbhaṁ. The question is, Krishna says he gives the garbhaṁ. How can that be understood? In the world, we don't see a man giving garbhaṁ to a woman. All he does is deposits his retas. Retas means the sperm into the womb of his wife. The virya of male is called retas and the virya of woman is called shonitam. When the male gives the retas, the woman gets impregnated, and that is what is called garbhaṁ. And it is also to be noted that not always this happens, meaning it is not always true that when the retas enters the womb, woman becomes garbhaṁ. There is no assurance, guarantee in this process. Husband can never assure his wife that he will give her garbhaṁ. It is only an attempt with hopes between the husband and wife that the wife will be conceived and will have a child. Considering this common process, what Krishna must have told in this sloka is yonir that is the Mula Prakriti, the cause, Krishna passes his retas. So the Mula Prakriti becomes garbhaṁ. Instead, what Krishna has said is, not that he sends retas, but he sends the garbhaṁ itself. This we never heard of any men doing it. Men of this world can only pass the retas, not the garbhaṁ. Whereas Krishna says, I places the garbhaṁ. So the question is, does the Lord himself creates garbhaṁ and sends it to the Prakriti, or after he sends the garbhaṁ takes place? So far, we know how the Lord created the universe. After that, it is the Lord who associates the Jivatmas into the Prakriti. The aggregate of the Jivas, called Jiva Samashti, that is the seed of all beings. And the aggregate of the Jivas, which is the seed of birth of all beings, is placed into the Prakriti. Like a seed is planted into the earth, likewise Krishna plants the Jivatmas into the Prakriti. Since it is the Lord who does this, not an ordinary man does it, therefore the garbhaṁ is guaranteed. Hence, the seed that has been sent itself termed as garbhaṁ. As we saw earlier, when a man does it, sends the retas, there is no guarantee that the wife is going to be conceived. She's going to be garbhaṁ. But over here, because it is Krishna who does it, therefore garbhaṁ is guaranteed, and what he sends is self referred as garbhaṁ. Just an additional information we would like to share in regards to this topic, garbhaṁ. When a couple, husband and wife, decides to have a child, they follow a process called garbhodhana samskara. They pick a recommended day as prescribed by the Shastra, and that night the girl is made to sit and the boy sits next to her and places his hand on her abdomen. Touching her abdomen, he recites a mantra which is known as Garbhodhana mantra. Here the mantra is referred as Garbha, not Retas Dhana, Bija Dhana, but Garbhodhana mantra. Though we already saw that what he does is Retas, not Garbha, because there is no assurance whether the wife is going to conceive or not. But still, this mantra is called Garbhodhana mantra. What happens is that the living entity takes birth through this process to experience its pleasures and pains due to its previous karma. Therefore, the Jivatma is the bhokta, meaning one who experiences the pleasure and pains. Likewise, Krishna associates the Jivatma with Prakriti by placing them into it so that the Jivatma can experience its pain and pleasure. The main difference is common man does it, no assurance. When Krishna does, there is full guarantee that the Jivatma is going to take birth. So, no Jivatma can escape from the Pralaya stage into the creation. From this, we can understand how both the living entity and the Prakriti are so closely connected. Hence, it is not that easy to cut off this connection. This is the key message that we derive from our learning so far. The living entities together called as Bhoktrivargam, as per the 13th chapter, they are the Kshetrajna, and the Prakriti known as Bhogasthanam is Kshetra. So the living entities are placed into the Kshetra where they experience their karma phalam, the reactions of their actions. And this happens by the will of the Lord. This conjunction between the Prakriti and Purusha takes place by Lord's will, and that Lord is Sri Krishna, no one else. This is known by an animal. An elephant called out for the Lord's help when he is being caught by a crocodile and was trying to fight and escape from the clutches of crocodile for several years. That time, many devatas came to help, but they couldn't move closer to do so because the elephant was specifically calling out the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. Namo namaste akila karanaya nishkaranaya adbhuta karanaya sarva-bhūtānāṁ maharnavaya namopavargaya parayanaya. This is one of the Sloka prayer by the elephant Gajendra. My Lord, you are the cause of all causes, but you yourself have no cause. So this is an important point, that it says you yourself have no cause. In the sloka, it says mama yonir mahad brahma. Mama means mine, yonir meaning cause of existence is mahad brahma, the Prakriti. If you read this in this way, it may appear that cause of me is this mahad brahma, Prakriti. But that's not the right way to understand this one. What the meaning of this is, mama, my property is this Prakriti. So, if mama is combined with yoni, mama yonihi would mean my yoni. That is, Prakriti is cause of Bhagavan. This contradicts what was said earlier and what we learned, and this combination is not proper. Rather, what it means is that this great Prakriti, Mahad Brahma, which is the cause of creation, is my property, which means there is no one else could be cause of the Supreme Lord. He is the ultimate cause of everything else, including the Mahad Brahma. And this was clearly understood by the elephant Gajendra. In this third sloka, what has been covered is that the cause of creation, namely the Prakrita Srishti and Naimitika Srishti, are done by the Supreme Lord. Then the question comes, who is the cause of day-to-day creation, Nitya Srishti or Nitya Pralaya? And that will be answered in the next sloka. Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbhaṁ dadhāmy aham. sambhavaḥ sarva-bhūtānāṁ tato bhavati bhārata. Namaste. Hare Krishna.